So we're cycling through characters, but I pulled them right from the Discord repository, and I'm trying to go as close as order as possible. I think I've mixed up the order sometimes, as I get Cthulhu's 7th Curse with 3 custom mysteries, but yeah, I put date posted. I think sometimes I put most recent post if we're looking for characters I'm pulling off the server, but I have, I've made mistakes at times, and hopefully it's relatively chronological order if we're looking at how I am picking the characters and playing them in a certain order. So, hey, although that does mean we might even hit 200 episodes depending on my speed. So as we get into Cthulhu's 7th Curse character exclusive custom character, yeah, we're shifting once more. I'm pretty sure I'm not repeating any character, but I'm sure someone will tell me if I accidentally repeated a character. Even though as I shift characters, as I move to the next character, I usually try to make sure I haven't gone over one already, but hey, Strength, Knowledge, Light, Second Encounter, Takshisan, and maybe a Dexterity check. We have 3 Strength, 5 Dexterity, 8 Perception, 6 Knowledge, and 5 Charisma. Which means, yeah, we're probably going to use the Army Knife, although getting Knowledge to 8 would be nice. We'll see, though. Otherwise, we just take... Wait, hold on. I just confused myself. So, Dexterity. That is Dexterity. I was like, wait, where's the... I was counting too many stamina checks. I'm like, there's no way I can lose 12 stamina. Anywho. Illegal then, and we move on. And as we're autopiloting here, one last thing is, you might be wondering, well, Jordan, aren't you going to play your own characters? I have done so before, but I usually don't choose to do so. I'll save that for a separate series when I can just play around, because I have control over the characters I want to make, although I do want to make original characters as well. Mermaids, Festival, Salt Shrine, Auteur, Labyrinth. This is the first time with Salt Shrine, but I'm pretty sure I'm less worried about that than Labyrinth or Auteur. But it's a nice little balance, depending on the mystery. Not all mini mysteries in this mod pack are relatively safe. I've made too many oopsies to make that mistake again, even though I will make it again. So we want to take I need to make sure I know what I'm doing here. So Mermaids, Labyrinth into Festival at some point. We might just want to take Labyrinth now, funny enough. Yeah, I'm going to take Labyrinth now. So, as we prepare to get absolutely slapped in the face, we will prepare. If we get a bat, we can throw it, but we just want to enable the prepare option. Otherwise, Army Knife. Yoichi as well. Yoichi double funds into Army Knife? Yeah. So, oh, never mind. I'm on 7th Curse. And now I just lost the Army Knife. Well, hey, I'm just going to sit here then. Now I'm just curious. Oh, wow. I really got punished for that. Okay, well... That's the life lesson I learned, if nothing else in this video, is that, hey, I'm on 7th Curse, Jordan. Don't do what I just did. Anywho, we can still survive, but there was no reason for me to take that much damage. So, yeah, off we go. 22% Doom isn't crazy. We have Festival as well, but I could have avoided that altogether. We could have gone with 11 Doom with the Monument uses still, instead of do that to myself. And now I don't want to... Yeah, I don't want to prepare for funds, because now my Doom is a bit high. It's really funny, though. So, we have Mind Drain, but I'll save that for a bad day. And I don't think there's much more to talk about at the moment. We will fight what we fight. We roll a 10 on Strength, as to be expected, and off we go. You know what I can talk about, though? All this RNG talks remind me, because I was sitting here wondering if I should get into another game, or like basically take a break from Against the Storm. We'll say it, because that's what I'm playing. And yeah, I was looking at specifically Darkest Dungeon 2. I sometimes save old recordings that I've done, if for no other reason than to look back on old games I played. And it takes a lot of space on my hard drive, by the way. But it's good to have memories. And boy, as I watched Darkest Dungeon 2 footage, also, do we just take 3 all in the face? I don't want to. We might have to though. We're gonna take it once here. Yeah, hold on, let me focus for a moment. I think we can do this, though. So if I do this, and then I brace twice, I might be okay? Yeah. Now I have to hit 2 kicks, but I'd rather that than eat 3 all. Even though there's a chance... Oh, actually, we have Mind Drain. But I'm still gonna do these kicks. If we need to Mind Drain, we'll Mind Drain, but hey... But yeah, Darkest Dungeon 2 was a big RNG fest. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just that for me, specifically, that causes a lot of pain So if you, I'll mention some examples here. So for example, and these are earlier runs, like it's not like I don't think I even completed Act 2. So what I say, take with a grain of salt. Again, I enjoy Darkest Dungeon 2. It's just that doesn't mean I can't throw up my hands and just talk about RNG. Okay, so specifically, for example, pretty much everything has a chance to crit in the game. You could go a crit build, but what I mean by this specifically is that there are... I'm going to take Soul Shrine now, by the way. There are enemies can crit. I don't know what the exact odds are, but let's assume that they're 15%. So sitting there, and crits in the game can proc a whole host of things, but to mention, we'll do Fondest Memory for Mind Drain. To mention, they can increase stress, they can hurt you a lot, and those are pretty much the two main effects of crits. But you don't want to get crit. And so as I'm playing through Darkest Dungeon 2, before I even enter the first inn, 2 enemies crit me twice in a row. That's not bad because, well, you have... those enemies are relatively safe, but... Ooh, hold on, let me just think for a moment. I think I trade... yeah, let's trade stamina, funny enough. And we are in Soul Shrine. Let me visit the police station as well. But that happens, yeah, that happens before the first, and it's like, okay, that's not so bad. Otherwise, secondly, there are also status effects in the game. And let's just say they are you're pretty much flipping a coin with most status effects. Some status effects are just outright, hey, things do half damage. But in particular, one status effect you can get lowers your accuracy, the accuracy of your next attack by 50%. Otherwise, usually attacks are meant to always hit. But you get a blind debuff, which you have a 50% chance to miss. This gets thrown across, you know, say your two people or your whole party, but that's usually for worse encounters. But hits two of my characters. Okay, both characters go for an attack. I don't have anything to mitigate at the moment. That's partly strategy as well. You do want to take care of certain things, and there's a learning process to the game. But I figure, hey, I get 2 blind debuffs, maybe one of these hit. Both of them miss, and then I'm just sitting there being sad. But again, to note, this is an expected part of the game. You are supposed to deal... You're not usually supposed to brute force through negative status effects. You're usually supposed to have... so we're going through the counter argument here. You're usually supposed to have some kind... Oh, wait, let me double knowledge here, but instead, that's gonna suck for strength, but hey. But... hold on, let me just see. Otter, mermaids... No, we'll take festival, mermaids, and then otter, I think. Yeah. So yeah, it's, for example, say you're using the Highwayman, who's the character in the game. You use the Highwayman. The Highwayman has 2 buff-type moves, but even if you buff, unless you... So, in the case of getting blinded, keeping in mind we're on 7th Chris, so I would have liked to take you up, but we can't. So until you attack, the blind debuff does not wear off. Or if you use something to dispel that debuff, you cannot get it off. So instead, the Highwayman has a buff, or a self-buffing move that... removes that while giving the Highwayman a crit buff. This is one example. Another example is there are combat items that you can use during battle to remove status effects. One of them removes the blind debuff. There's that as well. But, again, there are times in which you don't have a choice. You don't have that item, or you're not going to use that skill, or you can't afford to use that skill and you want to rush. There is risk-reward, and like I said, both characters have blind, both characters miss, and I'm just like, well, die, I guess. And quickly things can spiral down if you're caught in a loop. So, on the flip side, a third example is I apply blind debuffs to 2 enemies. Actually, there's another example, but I applied the blind debuff to 2 enemies, you know, separately, and they both hit me because what does it matter? So, that goes without saying. You can also buff yourself. Oh my goodness, by the way, speaking of RNG, missed 2 out of 3 of these. Flies closer, so now I have to brace unless I want to take a... actually, I can. Yeah, actually, it is guaranteed. I'm getting a bit heated here, but the flip side can happen where you can give yourself a buff that allows you to dodge at 50%, or a bigger one that allows you to dodge at 75%. Have dodge for 75%, get hit. Enemy has dodge for 50%, I can't hit them to save my life. So... it's pretty much like 66%, 75% against me in the enemy's favor most of the time. Nice brand, by the way, game. But, again, these are a few examples of what happened. And at this point, I don't mean to turn you away. Again, you're supposed to come up with countermeasures as you learn the game. Or, you know, at this point in Darkest Dungeon 2's meta lifespan, even though we're not playing Kingdoms, if you're getting into the game, you're supposed to learn the game, or you could just look up things online. That's what I was trying to say. You could look up things online to get a thing. But if you want the raw experience, yeah, learning without too many spoilers, or just my tips, is learning the game, just like how you would learn events and stuff in World of War, just like you would learn setups and what am I trying to say? Builds in Enter the Gungeon, as you would think about deck building in games like Slay the Spire. These are things that you're supposed to learn, so you're not supposed to usually just go in blind and react. You are very much meant to prepare. In fact, the game, narration and gameplay-wise, you are meant to try and prepare for a lot, basically. And there's enough to try and remember anyway. It's not like if you go in completely blind, then there's a lot of things you would need to try to react to, and at that point, no, that's usually not going to work well. So yeah, there are other things to mention, but of those in my fresh memories after watching my own recordings, yeah, those are a few examples. And I was the type to unlock every character as well, just to get a wider spread of characters, but I think I ended up using the Intrepid Coast for the more permanent buffs, things like getting relics and currency, more relics and currency, getting better drops from piles. But yeah, that's my time in Darkest Dungeon 2. But I would have kept the game, because keep in mind, if you look on my channel right now, I do have a Trying to Play, but that was when I had a weaker setup, admittedly, but it really didn't run well on the system I was playing it. But I did get to, you know, I got my fill in terms of, you know, a good less than 2 hours, because I got it on Steam. But you get the point. It was not running well, otherwise I would have kept the game. And it would have been a great game to continue playing. It's just that, yeah, it just didn't run well. So instead, I have things like Frostpunk 2, but instead I'm also playing Against the Storm 2, which is also getting more DLC, so I've got to choose between the two. I'm usually very frugal on what I choose to play with video games. And in that, also flipping that around, I often like to... Let me just make sure. Okay, yeah, we're just gonna take the burns here. Yeah, I usually like to dig in deep to a few games, then spread between a lot of games. Unless, of course, the game is really quick to play, or is like it's a one-time experience. But yeah, if we're looking at the games I can juggle, probably like 2 to 3 max, which I think is actually normal for most people anyway. So that's not really saying much, but you get the point. But I usually play games that have replay value in some sort of way. I don't normally skip around to things like, you know, Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I played Last Defense, 100 Line Last Defense Academy on my own, but again, that's because when I looked at that game, I looked at who made the game. Again, really quickly, for those who don't know, it's a game made by the same people who made the games, or were behind the games like Danganronpa, Shibuya Scramble, which was a more... Well, again, it has 2 very prolific writers who made the story, basically. And then, obviously, the artist as well. But then there are a bunch of other things that... If you play that game, you'll see the similarities. Anywho. We'll just take this Doom in the face, though. 66% Doom, and we're on our last mystery. Yeah, funny enough, we're not actually doing as bad as I thought. And we really are autopiloting through this because RNG just made me so heated. But anywho, that being said, my RNG, as I've noticed in this run, isn't as bad, even though I have caught a few 11s and 12s, but... Or 10s? Anywho. I think we're Charisma, right? So we want to fail this. Unfortunately, we rolled a 1, so... I'm shaking my head silently. We'll level up here to do so, now that, you know, our stats will matter. As much as they may not, but hey. We took double burns, but it's a good thing I didn't run into a single enemy, by the way. I just realized, yeah, we got a bunch of burns. Funny enough, I'm going to sell this empty bottle so we can take care of these burns. So that and that. So a funny thing to notice is I think usually status or quote-unquote injuries given by custom events and mysteries or bonuses are displayed in white, even though they're supposed to be they're supposed to have a black background. But again, at least the status effects still work as intended, even if you classify them as status, which is, funny enough, the only way to make them work sometimes, but hey. So, without further ado, I forgot my second encounter, yes, but I think we'll be okay no matter what. So, we'll pop these painkillers, and we will equip this ritual robe. And off we go. Max threat level for us because threat levels increased, but hey, and then branded on top, but hey. So I think we just take this in the face. There's nothing we can really do here. We failed every single check, and do we have quick thinking? No, we don't, but we'll interrupt the ritual because that makes us feel cool. So, we should be able to survive this still, and we still have Mind Drain on top of that, so if and when we run into Takushi-san, it'll be Mind Drain City. But thankfully, this has very low power value. Otherwise, this would be a lot more dangerous of an encounter. In fact, thankfully, that boss doesn't have 3 reason damage just outright. I also have Flesh Regrowth, so I didn't need to worry about my HP at all. But as we enter the lighthouse here, I think we'll be okay. Yeah, no, we should be okay. If nothing else, yeah, as you may have noticed, I prefer high-strength, high-perception characters, which I do feel are a lot stronger in general in World of Horror, regardless of difficulty. But that's not to say that having high knowledge or high dexterity is unworkable. It's just at least I feel a lot more confident, if nothing else. But I do think that having more strength and or perception in a character is stronger because the weapons that they can serve for to be used for are a lot more useful. I don't remember, by the way. So yeah, I should have actually leveled up here, but I think it's fine. We don't even need to take this because we have the power of Mind Drain. So, yeah, we'll end this video here, if nothing else. So if you have anything to say, you know what to do. If you don't have anything to say, that's cool too. But I will be continuing to go through characters. I don't know if I'll make it through every character, but that'll probably, again, if I had to guess specifically, closer to specifically like 220 plus episodes. But without further ado, I'll thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.